Hi there. Week 6 of the Feast Your Eyes on This Spicy Video Cooking Challenge. I made it. I'm the final 3. Super cool. Jen the Sauce got us here. We're doing 3 awesome dishes today. I am making... Buddha has challenged us to make 3 dishes. One is American Goes International. The other is International Goes American. And finally, the last one is International Goes International. Take a dish from one country and use the ingredients from the other country. For our American Goes International, we are making Asian sliders. Instead of a traditional burger topped with lettuce and pickles and ketchup and mustard, we're going Asian. For our International Goes American, we are taking the French ingredient of escargot, which is normally served in its own little snail shell with garlic butter, and we are taking that escargot and wrapping it in some good old bacon and barbecuing it and putting it in a little biscuit cup and drizzling over the American version of butter and garlic, and that's ranch dressing. Only it's going to be a spiced up ranch dressing. For the last dish, International Goes International, I am doing Ethiopia meets Mexico. We're making an injera bread from Ethiopia and using lamb and a spiced cheese, only we're spicing it up with Mexican seasonings. We're throwing a little avocado in there, we're using my Latin heat spice, and we are making a quesadilla. Let's get cooking. For our pork sliders, this is our ground pork. I've got about a pound. This is our 5-spice rub mix. I'm going to pop this into my spice grinder. I've got a giant white habanero. I've got star anise, cloves, cinnamon, fennel, and I'm going to add a little salt. All right, let's buzz this up. Okay, I'm just going to pour out our spice rub back onto the plate where we had the seasonings. Sprinkling a little bit of this onto the pork, and then I'm going to work it in. Totally smell the spices. It smells so great. We're making our little test burger. I'm going to taste this and determine if we've got enough spice rub in there. Needs salt. Very spicy. Totally tastes like Chinese spice, only way hotter. Into the baggie and into the fridge. Let's make some kimchi. I have 1/3 cup of regular kosher salt in here. I've got cabbage. So it's really important to make sure the salt touches all the leaves of the cabbage. So let this hang out on the counter for about 4 hours. So for our pickles on our Asian slider, we're going to make some pickled ginger. I'm going to peel this so it looks like this, and we're going to make some paper-thin pieces of ginger and pickle them. And those will be our pickles. Okay, let's make some pickled ginger. I've got 1/2 cup of vinegar, 3 tablespoons of white sugar. I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. The vinegar we're using is a rice vinegar, and supposedly that's what makes the pickled ginger turn pink. Our vinegar has come up to a boil with the sugar and the salt. Mash this in a jar. Making our hot mustard for our Asian slider. I have 1/4 cup of hot water in here. I am going to put about a teaspoon of Holy Jalokia hot sauce. Oh, the heck with that, man. Teaspoon of Holy Jalokia. That's going to give us the boot jalokia and a little bit of tang. I'm going to put just a couple of shakes of my sweet heat seasoning. It's going to give it a tiny bit of sweetness and some garlic. And then the rest is all mustard. 1/2 cup of dry yellow mustard. And that's going to go in here. And as usual, I'm using a jar because I really like this method quite a bit. And this is just going to get shaken. In this bowl I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to put 8 tablespoons of shortening in there and work that in. Then I'm going to add about a cup, 1/4 cup of cold milk. I'm actually going to use the biscuit dough as buns for our sliders, using some sesame oil, sesame seeds, and a little bit of sugar. And then we're going to turn around and use it also as a little cup or a mock snail shell for our little barbecued escargots. We're going to roll them out and then customize them for each recipe. The thing with biscuit dough is you actually want to work it as little as possible. So right now, I'm going to turn it onto my rolling mat. Perfect. Okay. And these are going to go on the cookie sheet, just like that. Now, the rest of this dough, we're actually going to use This is actually going to be a little cup, a little biscuit cup. I got a little cayenne, got a little bit of paprika. Now we're going to roll this up, and we're going to slice these and put them on our cookie sheet. When I'm putting them on the sheet, you guys, I don't know if you can see that. It looks pretty cool. In this bowl, I'm putting a tablespoon of sugar, about a tablespoon of sesame oil, and I'm going to mix this together. This is actually going to get brushed on top of the slider biscuits. So there we go. I'm just going to brush that on, and then we'll put some sesame seeds on top of that. And then I'm just going to take a little plain sesame seeds. I could toast these, but I'm just thinking of what a burger bun looks like. I'm pre-cooking my bacon for my bacon-wrapped escargot. And I'm going to wrap in bacon and slather in barbecue sauce and put in a biscuit and put ranch dressing on it. Because that's what you would do with a French ingredient like escargot. Alright, we've got some toothpicks here. I'm just going to grab a handful of them. Water bath, put this on, we're going to let them sit for about a half an hour, and that's going to make sure these don't burn. Can of escargot, rinsed a little bit. We're going to use my sweet and spicy grill glaze, spicy with cayenne, sweet with brown sugar, and I'm going to use, let's say, a quarter cup. Basically, this is what I'm doing, mixing them around. A pair of shears, and I'm just cutting the bacon in half, because I think one little round, and use two toothpicks. One, and back into the sauce it goes. If you cooked your bacon a little bit too long and it's a little crunchy, a few of these pieces are, if you just heat it up in the microwave, it kind of loosens it back up again. Let's make some homemade ranch dressing. First off, I've got my super chunk seasoning. I've got about a teaspoon of this already pre-mixed in a quarter cup of sour cream, and that's in there. To that, I'm going to add 1 cup of regular store-bought mayonnaise. To this, we're going to add a shake of the Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion. That's about maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, just a little shaky shake. I'll show you how much I put in there. And that's something that I ground up in my spice grinder. We're also going to put just a little tiny shake of Worcestershire. Again, probably 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then here I have parsley, and I have some dill, and I have some chives. I'm going to chop these up very fine and stir them into the mix, and this will be our homemade ranch dressing. Let's get these little snails on there. These are ready to flip. Everything's already cooked. Just brown in that sauce. Let's assemble our delicious bacon barbecued escargot. The last step that we need to take with our bacon wrapped escargot on biscuits is we've got to top them with a little bit of ranch dressing. Bacon wrapped Frenchy escargot. That's really cool. You guys, the dill goes with the bacon and the barbecue sauce. I need to get a bite of absolutely everything, so that's this money bite right here. Try not to get grossed out. I won't be able to talk for a few minutes. In Ethiopian food, they make something they call a spiced butter. Well, a few weeks ago, I made a Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion infused oil. So I'm going to use that in place of spiced butter. They use the spiced butter to make something they call spiced cheese. So we're doing an Ethiopian quesadilla. So I bought some cotija cheese. This is it's really crumbly, almost like a feta, and it's very salty. It's usually put on top of rolled tacos, or on top of quesadillas or enchiladas. We're going to put this on top of our quesadilla. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just chunk this up. It's going to crumble all on its own once it gets in the bowl. This is about half of a round of cotija cheese. If you can't find cotija, you can use feta. It's going to have the same salty characteristics. So we're just putting cubes of this in here. I am going to put a tablespoon of my oil. So here is my Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion oil. So basically I'm making an oily cheese to put on top of the quesadilla. I'm also going to give it just a little tiny bit of salt, not too much, and a couple more shakes of our Latin heat seasoning. This is on the lamb that's going in the quesadilla, and I think the cumin is real nice. That's it. And this is going on top of our quesadilla, but I have to try a piece first. Oh, wow. To make our Ethiopian quesadillas, I've got a couple lamb chops. So I have my Latin heat seasoning here. This has cumin and oregano and garlic. And then these are going to go in the fridge to rest for just a little bit before we grill them. And we will visit this in about a half an hour when we throw it on the grill. Here's our Latin heat lamb steaks going on the grill. I'm going to cook these till they're completely done. And then remove the meat from the bone and slice it up for our Ethiopian quesadilla. Armed with my whisk, we're going to make injera bread. I first heard about this, Frugal Gourmet, years ago decided I was making Ethiopian food, and this was very fun to make. They use this as much like a utensil as they do a bread, and so we're going to use it to gather up our quesadilla ingredients, our Latin heat lamb, and our avocado, and our queso fresco, and some cheese, some cheddar jack cheese. So first thing I've got to do is I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour in here, 2 cups of water. It calls for 3. I'm going to start out with 2 and whisk this. I need to add a teaspoon of baking powder. Alright, got my trusty Scan Pan nonstick. Take a little ladle full of this. Move it around like you would crepe dough. We'll make our injera bread. It's kind of like a pancake. That's perfect. It's going to get a little bit brown on the bottom. I have one that I already cooked, so we're going to make little mini quesadillas. It is time to make our Ethiopian quesadilla. This is injera bread. Here is our Latin heat lamb. I'm going to add just a little bit of avocado. We're going to let that melt the cheese, and we will have our Ethiopian quesadilla. Cabbage has been soaking in salt for about 4 or 5 hours. So I am going to dump it into my salad spinner. Look at all that liquid that came off. Can you see that? And then what we need to do is get rid of the salt. Okay, so here's the rest of our kimchi fixins. We've got about 6 green onions cut medium size. I've got 1 clove of garlic. I've got 1 teaspoon of grated ginger, fresh ginger. In this bowl I have 2 teaspoons of red Savina habanero powder and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Dry powder mix is going to replace the Korean chili powder. Then in goes our cabbage, and all of this is going to get mixed. We'll let this go for 2 days and make our sliders. Sauce got us here. Perfect. I'm getting ready to make my American goes international with my Asian slide. First things first, we've got to cook our meat, obviously. So I made this into little patties. So these have been cooking for about 2 minutes. I'm now going to put a lid on them. Okay, time to flip these babies. Everything's going to be real spicy in this. Chinese hot mustard I tried a little while ago, crazy. Ginger's fantastic, all pickled and delicious. And then the kimchi just rocks. I tasted it a few minutes ago, and yeah, my mouth is still pretty much lit up. My little biscuits that I made earlier. This biscuit has a little bit of sesame oil and sesame seeds on top, hot mustard on the bottom, and then I'm also going to put a little bit of the sticky sweet glaze in there. So now our burger goes on there, all squishy and delicious. And then on top of our burger, I'm going to do my pickles and my lettuce. 1 Asian slider done, and put that on top, and these sliders are ready for consumption. It's time to taste. I'm excited. Okay, that's so many cool flavors together. The ginger really pops at the beginning. The kimchi's got this back heat from that red Savina habanero. Hot mustard, ooh, hello. It's spicy in a way that peppers aren't spicy, and that's the cool thing about mustards and horseradishes and stuff. I've been all around the world in this 6th week. Traditional idea of American burger with the lettuce, the pickles, the ketchup, the mustard, with Asian seasonings. I went clear across the globe, and I went to Ethiopia, and I grabbed some of my favorites from Ethiopia, injera bread, and their use of lamb, which I love. And then they make a spiced cheese. And so I took all of those ingredients, and then I jumped over to Mexico, and I took the injera bread and the lamb and made a quesadilla. I took the quintessential French ingredient, escargot, only I wrapped it in American bacon, grilled it with barbecue sauce, put it in a little biscuit that kind of resembled a snail, and then topped it with some ranch dressing. What's more American than ranch dressing? To check out these recipes, go to saucegoddess.com/FYEOT.